Okay, our next speaker is coming from Switzerland, but originally from Germany. She is Bushra Coskuner. She will talk about Tame Your Product Manager. She was a product manager and a product management lead earlier, but this year she is doing coaching, training, and advisory, but she is still practicing as having two side businesses. She was working with Doodle, Deutsche Telekom, Home24. She helps to apply product thinking practices to reality. When I asked her what is the golden nugget that all developers have to take away, she said, collaboration works best if we understand each other's worlds. So please welcome on stage, and don't forget about Slido, our next speaker, Bushra Coskuner.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Let's see if the clicker still works. Cross the fingers. Wonderful. OK, I will not click, because otherwise I'm going to spoil a bit. So we will see in a moment. So hello, everyone. We're nearing the end of the conference. Hope you still have some energy for me. And yeah, let's talk about a topic that might sound weird a bit. Tame your product manager, connect business goals, well, now it says, and your daily work with impact mapping. Huh? And I see nodding faces. It has three aspects in here. One, tame your product manager. I mean, OK, it's 2025, taming. OK, wait. Anyway. And then connecting business goals and your daily work or user outcomes or whatever. What's the connection? And then I have a framework in here, like impact mapping. Huh? So option number one, there is no connection at all. And like I just made it up because, you know, clickbait, and I want the people to come into my talk, which is probably one part of it. But then there's option number two. There is a connection, and I'm just very, very bad at choosing titles. Or option number three, there is a connection, and we will reveal this connection throughout the presentation. Take out your phones. No. You're not going to choose for which option is the real one, is the right one. I will just say to you it's option number three. OK, so we will talk about it, what these three aspects have to do with each other. In order to do that, I need three helpers. No, none of you. Chill. None of you. I need three helpers, and let's see if the clicker works now. Cross the fingers. What? One second, I have to finish this, and maybe now. Yes. OK, cool. Three helpers. First, a guy called Stan. And Stan is not in the room, and we're happy for it. Then a triangle, and then trees. These are going to be my helpers. And let's start with Stan. Stan. Who is Stan? Where is Stan? What does Stan do? This is Stan, and Stan is your product manager. Stan comes to you and says, hey, this idea that I had, I just put it through my magic prioritization spreadsheet, board tool, whatever, and it's just spit out that this is the next thing that we should build, because this is going to be so cool, and this is, of course, definitely the right thing to build. And you know what? Once we've built it, it's going to make our customers super happy, because this is what we're here for. Our team builds stuff so that our customers are super happy. I see some smiling faces. Happened last week? Yeah, somebody's laughing. So it happened last week, right? This week? Last week? Nailed it last week. OK, cool. This is Stan. Let's keep the vibe. This is you. And you're like, Stan, I'm so happy that you came up with this next new feature. Thank you. Because we're positive, right? So we're positive, and we're like, thank you. You just came up with this new feature, and your prioritization tool is so cool. Look, I think the search is our most important feature on the page, and it's buggy. What if we fix that? And then, we have this filtering stuff, and it's not really intuitive. Like, we see that users are not really working well with it. So maybe we should, iterate on that and improve it. And then, what? Since our last release, the page speed is down. So maybe we should work on that too. Like speed it up a bit. And this tech that's piling up like Mount Everest, we should start working on that, because otherwise, in 3-4 weeks, we'll not be able to release anything. So thank you for this wonderful feature idea. But what if we work on the other stuff? I mean, you mentioned we just want to make our customers happy, right? And I'm pretty sure a working search and a working page will make them a lot more happier than this next feature. What do you think? Guess what Stan says? No. And you're like, what? Isn't it about making customers happy? Working page is important to make customers happy, no? And Stan is like, no. Our page is working, yeah, maybe a little bit slow, but whatever, like, we need to deliver new features, because new features means more value, la, 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 la. And you're like, more value, but, like a working page. More value than that? Like, what? And no, and you keep debating, and in the end, you end up building that new feature. This week, anyone had this conversation this week? We had last week? This week. Thank you for admitting it just happened, right? How much does it suck? And then thank you. On a scale between 0 and 10, is it a 12? 15. Anyone more than 15? 42. OK, but that's the answer to anything. That just doesn't count. But that sucks a lot, right? So what the hell is happening? What's the problem here? The problem is not that we have different ideas. We want to have different ideas. We want to have many different ideas. So because imagine this. So it's about finding the right thing to build, right? So the more ideas we have coming from different perspectives, coming from different minds and from different disciplines, the higher the chance that the right thing to build is somewhere in there. So that we have different ideas on what we should build next is not the problem. The problem is fixating on what the right thing is in a situation when you are completely misaligned on the question what you're actually trying to achieve. Because let's be honest, saying making customers happy is very vague, isn't it? OK, that's the story of Stan. Now let's get to the triangle. What has this triangle to do with this discussion now? There is a concept in organizational change or in general in organizational setups that we call, depending on the company that you talk to, a trio or a triad. That's basically a designer, an engineer, and a product manager sitting at the same table, having the same level of information, and doing what? Making decisions together based on data, insights, and evidence. Decisions on what? So the main thing is that they are on eye level. They discuss everything together, anything that they need to make a decision on the question, what is the right thing to build? That does involve things like the debate of what is it that we're actually trying to achieve. And it also means having an understanding of what that thing is, and just making customers happy is not enough. The right thing to build is this thing that matters to the customers and to the business, so that together you can drive business with products your customers love. Fixating on business, ignoring your customers, is not going to help you to have a sustainable business. Over-indexing on customers, but totally ignoring the business side of it, means you're going to completely run out of cash at like very soon, matter of time. So what we want is that these three people, like this trio, so I will continue calling it trio, has a shared, like they're aligned. That's what we want to achieve. So they have a shared language. They have the same level of information, and they have a shared sense of ownership when it comes to the product. What we also want is that they have a shared understanding of what that actually means to drive business with products that customers love. It's still pretty vague, isn't it? And once we have this alignment, the chances are high that the conversation that this trio has is fruitful, and you can convince your PM, or they will convince you, but not in a, you're kidding way, but a true way of saying, okay, let's do it. We're aligned, let's do it, let's move forward. But how? That brings me to the trees. So, there are a lot of tools in a product manager's toolbox. We do a lot of things, and many of them look mysterious, but honestly, it's like the majority of the things are frameworks. I don't know, is anyone pretty active on LinkedIn? Okay, some of you are active on LinkedIn, some of you on Twitter, Blue Sky. Well, if you listen to the PMs that are out there on the social media, they will say, fuck frameworks. But deep inside, we love frameworks, but nobody's going to admit it. Sometimes we love them too much. Anyway, either way, we have lots of tools in our toolbox that basically help us make decisions what that actually means to drive business with products that customers love, and what we should do to build next, or what is the next thing to build. Today, I'm going to present you one of these methods that can help you to get into their world and their way of thinking. And also, if you are, for example, the only only product engineer in your team, if somebody was in Sanders' talk before, if you're the product engineer in your team, if you're the person who makes the decisions what to build, this can help you a lot as well. And this is a method that helps you align business goals, user outcomes, and ideas. Like, it doesn't have to be features, but we'll get to that, to enable true strategic prioritization that will help you to talk to your manager easier, because it creates the connection between product strategy and discovery and delivery, so that you can also take it to a level above, and will help you to make better data and evidence-informed decisions through addressing assumptions in a structured and experimental way when you take it further. We will talk about impact mapping, but with 3 twists. I'm not the inventor of impact mapping, but we'll get there. So I have 3 twists in there. Then how to use it for decision-making, especially in your conversation with your product manager. And then all sorts of cool things that you can do with it. Because it's not about frameworks. It is about frameworks, but it's not about frameworks. Cool, let's start. Impact mapping. Gojko Ajic, he says he's not the inventor. For me, he is the inventor, but he at least wrote a book about it in 2012. So it's a 13 years old, at least 13 years old method. It's actually even older. And he wrote a book about it in 2012. So you can go to impactmapping.org and read anything about it, and you will find anything about it to get started with it. There's a lot of material out there about it. So what does an impact map look like? It looks like a tree. Here we are with our trees. It goes through 5 levels. This is the business goal, and this is the daily work. And this is the second part of the 3-part title, right? How to connect your business goal with the daily work. Impact mapping helps us to do that. Who was in Patrick's talk this morning? Oh, 3 people. 3 people were 4. OK. Those of you who were in this talk, you will see the similarity to this slide. Right? You have to attach what you do to higher-level OKRs. That's what he said. So it's basically, if you replace the word higher-level OKRs with business goals, then you have the same thinking. Whatever you do, you have to attach it to something that is more meaningful for the above so that you can communicate on the same level. But let's go through the 5 pieces of it, and then we will get into the twists. So what are these things? What do they stand for? Let's start with goal. Goal is the business goal. This is a SMART goal. That means it's small, it's measurable, it's achievable, it's relevant, and time-bound. Okay? Time-bound means we are not looking into the future of more than 3 to maximum 6 months. Everything that is bigger than 6 months is just, we don't know. I mean, 2022, ChatGPT came out like 6 months. I mean, like, well, you threw everything away, right? And we had to figure out what's going to happen next. So more than 6 months, even 6 months is sometimes a nightmare to predict what's going to happen. So this can be metrics like 90-day customer retention rate, average order value, or we want to increase our new bookings by whatever. So we will get there. We will see an example. So that is business goals. Then we have the level of actors. An actor is anyone who can help or hinder us achieve the goal. Here we talk about segmentation, right? So it can be a very broad segment. It can be a very specific segment, internal, external actors. So it's important to understand where's the biggest lever in the actors, like where do we need to look at, and which segment do we need to look at to understand where we can find something that could help us achieve the goal. What is this something? It's this blue part. It's what he calls impact. And that's where the name impact mapping comes from, right? Because that's where the focus lies in this framework. So an impact is a behavior change that we want to trigger in this actor. So what do we want the actor to act like so that we can achieve our goal? So 2 ways of understanding if we are really talking about an outcome is, like, one is using adjectives, superlatives, cumulative, I think, is the other one, like faster, cheaper, in less time, and this kind of ways. And the other way that helps us to understand if we're really talking about an outcome is when we can make them start doing something, stop doing something, or do something differently, or the same more often, which also converts to differently. So this is the behavior change level. And only then we get to the deliverables level. And the deliverable can be anything. Really, it can be a feature, it can be an iteration, but it can be just a process change or just changing a word in a copy. It's fine, like whatever the solution is that will help us help the actor to do that behavior change is the right solution here. And that we all connect back to the business goal. And then there's the 5th stage that is called story here. And I will spoil a bit now. I use the 5th stage in a different way. So in the original impact map, here we are supposed to cut it into smaller pieces and give it to delivery. I like to use the stage to decide what we should do with it. I mentioned the trio should make their decisions based on data, evidence, insights, right? If we don't have enough evidence about this solution being the right one, then we have to get the evidence for that. If we do have it, then sure, we can give it into we can go into the delivery mode. Now remember the trio again. Let's say you work in an organization that does not have this trio concept, right? So you're not working with a product manager and a designer in the team. Well, then I call it potential zone of control might be limited to the solution space and the delivery space. If you do work in a trio, this shifts to the outcome space. You can influence the decision on what outcome to focus on. You have a say in that. And depending on the context, this might even go as far as to decide on the segment that you focus on. Depends on the setup. Okay, cool. Let's get to the twists. Twist number 1. Well, I use a different wording because in product management, we use the words a little bit in a different way. When we say impact, we understand the business level. The business goal would stand for impact. What Goiko means with impact is what we call outcome. So that's why I use the word outcome here instead. And then the word deliverable, I either say solution or output, because deliverable is a bad word in product management because it comes from project management. Never say project manager to your product manager, then you've lost. Okay, so therefore here we say either solution or output. Then the second twist is what I already mentioned. So I like to use the last level to basically make the decision on what to do next. The twist number 3 will come here, but not now. We will get to that. So basically, if we have to go through an example, this is one, Airbnb. I'm sorry, but this example is from a course of mine, an impact mapping crash course, and I have to choose something that everybody knows, right? So I'm sorry for the boring example here, but I wanted to show you this one because it came from people who have never done impact mapping before to show you how easy this can be, actually. Okay? So the question was, what if it's middle of the year and you as a team have the task to increase number of first-time bookings in the US by 10% by end of year? They came up with lots of actors. So in general, this is just a snapshot of the huge tree, okay? And it could be, for example, these 4. It's their answers, okay? It's not mine, it's their answers. People visiting the US for the first time, workationers, musicians with no hotel budget, single parents looking for a temporary stay. You see, it can be very broad, it can be very, very narrow, so it's a bit up to the data that we find out what the right level of segmentation is. So now the magic question, what is the biggest lever here? Which one, like where do you see the biggest potential to really make an uplift that could help us really make this 10%? They picked the first one. And then the question was, okay, how? Like which behavior do we need to see from them so that we can achieve our business goal? And these were 2, like there were many, but these are 2 examples. We can help people visiting the US for the first time to quickly understand which region fits their needs or to decide faster where to book as an option. And then they came up with potential solutions. And there were some engineers in this one specific cohort. And do you see the difference between these 2? Push relevant reasons in search results and improve relevance of region search results via metadata filtering. Which one resonates more with you, the first or the second? The second. And yes, that was from one of the engineers. A product manager would never come up with this. Never. This is your zone of control. Why? Because you're now aligned on what you are really trying to achieve. This is your zone of control. Okay, here's another example, and this is a real example. It's a bit, abstracted and like took out some information and made it really, 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 really easy. Okay, so it was bigger and messy. But here's a real example. And it's general enough so that I can show it to you, NDAs and stuff, Onboarding flow simplification. Increase user activation rate from X% to Y% within the first 7 days over the next 2 quarters. Potential actors, new users signing up for the first time, existing user base, well, because we could learn from them, right? See what works for them and then learn from them. And third-party tools. Okay, which one would you pick? Where's the biggest potential? The first one. Good. How can we do that? So what is the behavior change that we are trying to trigger? It's to understand how to get started within 2 minutes. It's to complete the first meaningful action, completion rate, and to not feel overwhelmed and drop off during account setup. Now I could tell you like the third one is not pretty clean because there are 2 things in one, okay? But this came out of some discovery activities that we did and some data analysis and stuff. And then we came up with potential solutions within the team. And here again, guess which ones were from the engineers? And when the engineer said, oh, let's just add a magic setup, you know, like we can auto-detect some stuff, and then based on what we understand, we can just do some things like that. And we're like, what? We can do that? Yeah, sure, that's easy. And you say it's easy? Yeah. So, oh, natürlich. That was German. Natürlich. Of course, let's do it. Right? That was not from the product managers. That was not from the designers. So yeah, of course, natürlich, let's do it. Cool. But real-life impact maps are messy. Bishra, they are so clean. It looks so easy. Isn't that like just a framework bullshit, blah, blah? Yeah, I mean, like somehow, but somehow not. Yes, they are super messy in the real world. Here are some, of course, blurred out. The first one was pretty clean, but this one is a mess, isn't it? Or this one. Or this one. I love this one. Or this one. They are not even on the solution level here. Eh? It's super messy, and it's OK. It depends on what you need it for, and we will get there. But before we get there, let's look at the decision-making side of it. And I'll be very open about this one. I have 3 key questions for you to take with you to make decisions together with your trio or at least with your product manager. And these 3 questions work with any framework. It's not like it's really framework agnostic. Just take it with you into your daily discussions, and it's already going to change some things. If you're working with a product manager who's maybe not really into discussions, this might piss them off, right? So disclaimer, be careful who you use these 3 questions with. But they are very, very helpful to get into a fruitful debate. Question number 1, what are the biggest levers? I mentioned this a couple of times already, right? So imagine you really built this tree up from scratch based on data, product discovery, data crunching, research, like whatever. So you don't map everything at once, but you really build it up. Question, what is the biggest lever? Where do we see the biggest potential to help us achieve the goal? The first one. OK, then now let's focus on this one. Let's narrow down. OK, here are our options. OK, where's the biggest lever? Again, where do we see the biggest potential? OK, that one. OK, let's narrow down. And then also with the solutions, where is the biggest lever? We have to figure these out. We have to get evidence for that, right? There are different types of experiments that we can run on each level, and then decide where the biggest lever is in the end. And this way, we can move forward. So any type of conversation you have, you can put this in, right? So you can just spread it and say like, OK, great. I understood we have these options. Where's the biggest lever? First thing that your product manager will do is looking at you like, what? Because probably they're not expected from you, but this is the question that you should ask. Force it. I didn't say that. Second question, is it a known, belief, or an assumption? Oh, this can make heated debates if you don't define what it means before you ask the question, or after you ask the question. So, what is a known, what is a belief, what is an assumption? Whatever workshop I do, I always ask these questions, because usually, so when I run an impact mapping workshop, like or a training, to teach the team on what it is and how to build an impact map and how to use it for their work, then they are so into their enthusiasm, right? Energy is high, and they build up this huge tree. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is so cool. And then I come in and say, good. Now let's talk about assumptions. Which one is a known, which one is a belief, and which one is an assumption? What is the definition? OK, here we go. A known is everything that we know for a fact. Physics are fact. We cannot change it. Everything that we learned in a painful way, and we really, really know it by now. Let's please stop debating it, because we have proven it like so many times. It's a known. Everything where we have quite some evidence, but it's not a fact or something that we know for a fact, is a belief. Like everything that would be too expensive or even impossible to get even more evidence for, right? So that we just say, okay, this is enough, and we believe it's true. And an assumption is, well, we have some indication maybe like 1 week evidence point. Somebody said, yes, if you would build it, I would buy it. That's an assumption. Good. And then, oh yeah, so and just to mention it here, once you have made it visible what is a belief, a known assumption, you can still decide to go with an assumption, but then it's a conscious decision in the team or in the trio to say, yes, we will go with the assumption, and as a next step, we will make experiments and gather more data and gather more evidence to see what it's really behind, if it's really worth doing or not, right? Experimentation is key here. So you can do it. It's just making sure that you're on the same page. And then the third one, where is the win-win? Whatever you do, it's really not only about impact mapping. Always ask yourself, where is the win-win? Even if you have a one-on-one debate with any stakeholder, what is the win-win that we can find between what they want and what we want? Okay? Here in this one, I've tried to phrase it as an example of how it could hear like, okay? So let's say you do some product discovery activities, and from many, many different people that you have talked to, you hear something like, the US is so big, I don't even know where to start looking. I just want to find something interesting quickly. You make a synthesis, and you say, we found out, like you hear many more other things, right? And then we found out that they want to find an interesting holiday destination quickly without being overwhelmed. Further research has shown that finding interesting regions quickly helps them make a decision. So the win-win here is people traveling to the US for the first time want to find interesting regions and suitable Airbnbs quickly and without being overwhelmed. As a result, they book with us, and we increase our first-time bookings. The solution that we suggest to do this is X. So that is how you kind of try to together find the win-win between the business goal, like between what the business wants and what the customer wants, and how you as a team can serve this win-win. Good. So as a summary, three key questions. What are the biggest levers? Is it a known, belief, or an assumption? And where is the win-win? And now, to slightly come to the end. What else can we do with this thing? My most favorite example is something that I call reverse impact mapping. Here's a real example from my time at a furniture e-commerce. The marketing team approached us and said, we want an internal tool to manage SEO metadata. And we said, cool. That is going to take us about 4 months. That means it comes to the label as project, gets a project label. That means it goes to management. That means it needs to go into the prioritization part of the management, the roadmap, the big roadmap, and it needs to go in a row with all the other projects that we have to deliver, that we have to build. If we're good, we can, like, if you are lucky and that's gonna get a higher prioritization, you can have it in maybe 9 to 12 months. Or we build you a CSV upload that costs us 2 hours. You can have that within the next 2 sprints, and we don't have to do all of that I mentioned, because the only thing that you then need to do is have the product detail page, like the product ID, and then fill out the CSV in a specific order with the specific data, and you upload it, and bam, you have managed the meta tags. Guess which one they decided to go with. So what we did here was we took it from reverse. We started with what we heard. That's the solution. You want to have an internal tool, okay, so that your SEO managers can do what? They can fast and easily manage the metadata and keep it up to date. The problem is that the business goal that they're trying to achieve with that, increase organic traffic to the product detail pages, is less important to the management than other projects on their plate. So we suggested a different solution, and they said, sure, let's go with it. So this is what I call reverse impact mapping, and it helps in so many different situations. Give it a try. So the key is basically understand what they are really trying to achieve and offer them a different solutions. And it can be your product manager. It doesn't have to be marketing or any other stakeholder. It can be your product manager. OK, cool. What else can you do? Capture the current state of your feature or environment. This is a messy scribble. It's just a scribble. OK, yeah, on Miro, yes. But like, you know, OK, this is this. This is this. OK, this is the customer outcome level. OK, these are the use cases. The color coding still is valid. OK, you can understand from the color coding what is what. Here are some pictures my colleague Scott Sailhorst sent me. Thank you, Scott. You can rationalize the backlog. I hope you cannot read it. OK, cool. you can rationalize the backlog. You go through the backlog, and you're like, OK, what is what? What is for whom? Why? What are we trying to achieve? And then basically use it as a way to filter what you don't need to worry about. What can you say no to with this? Also, in this, if you zoom in, you should be able to read it. But anyway, you can scope a new product with that as well, with the same rationale, right? So what is it that we want to help our actors to really achieve? And then how else can we solve it other than this huge solution that's going to take us lots of months anyway? And here's twist number 3. This is my most favorite way to use impact mapping. I use it as to structure my product discovery activities with the teams that I'm coaching. So basically, I blend it with other frameworks, in this case, with the opportunity solution tree. So I have the desired outcome, put in opportunities in between, and then get to the solution level and then experimentation level. Or I take those opportunities and turn them into outcomes so that I have an outcome map. This example, by the way, was that kind of an exercise where we took the problems and turned them into outcomes. Or I start with the problem, and I don't really turn them into outcomes, but I think, OK, what would be the outcome if I solved that specific problem? And this is also a half-real example, not real, but a half-real example, by the way. Good. And now let's come really to the end. You both want the same. Your product manager and you want the same. So here we come to the taming part. You want to build the right thing, right? But you're not aligned what that really means. What is the right thing? So the right thing that you both should try to achieve is to drive business with products that customers love. Through alignment, through shared language, through the same level of information and the shared sense of ownership, through a shared understanding of what that really means to drive business with products that customers love, right? Here's the win-win thing. There you can find the win-win, but be more specific. Be more specific on what the business goal is and what the customer outcome is, right? Be more specific on the win-win. And if you have that alignment, there's a higher chance that both of you, or if you work in a trio, the 3 of you, say yes together. Even if it's a disagree and commit, you are all standing behind that decision. Tame your product manager. And one way of doing that is upgrading your own product thinking. There are multiple other ways, of course, but how about you upgrade your product thinking and understand their world and how they think and why this prioritization thing ended up in such a bad way. So impact mapping is one way how you can upgrade your product thinking so that you can build the right damn thing together. Thank you.
Thank you, Bushra. We have a small gift to you. And
Thank you.
we have 1 minute for questions. So what is the advantage of distinguishing known belief and assumption instead of just simplifying the framework and have 2 categories? Either we accept something as a basis of making decisions on, or want to formulate an assumption as a way to drive further evidence collection.
you can try it out. Like there is, like, try multiple different things. So the one big benefit that I have seen in distinguishing that is making thoughts explicit. Because just happened a couple of weeks ago, a salesperson was in this trio thing, really bad name, but anyway, the salesperson said, yeah, but our biggest customers keep saying if we do that, they will buy it. And we said, okay, how many? You said biggest customers. How many? That's plural. Well, actually one. Did they promise anything? Like, did they sign anything like they will buy it? No. What did they say? Well, if you'd build it, we would buy it. Okay, that's an assumption. She was so sure. She said, we know that we have to build it. And then it turned out it was just an assumption. So that is the big benefit of speaking it out loud and making it visible.
Okay, thank you very much. We're out of time, so I'd like to ask another round of applause for Büşra, and I would like to give you this small present from in the name of organization team.
Thank you.